What is up, Janksters? It's your boy Graham, also known as HamHawks42 on the internet, and today we have another edition of the Overthinking MTG podcast, and today I want to talk about one of the completed planeswalkers in Phyrexia LB1. To be honest, I have a lot of thoughts on all the planeswalkers, and I'm sorry that I haven't been putting out more of these episodes to talk about them, but I'm going to work my way through them. Today I want to talk about Nahiri the Unforgiving. This is a card that I find absolutely fascinating because so many of Nahiri's previous iterations have been written off as like mid-power okay boros equipment things. You know, like a lot of her other iterations have been these cards where it's like, it's fine if you really want a 4-drop that cares about having equipment down. But if you don't want 4-drops that care about equipments, like, it's just not great. Like one of the main equipment archetypes that we have right now in competitive Magic that actually holds up and is pretty decent is Hammer Time. Hammer Time wants no 4-drops whatsoever. Like, you, very few anyway, if any. Like, you generally want to be rocking 2-drops that are going to be swinging at your opponent for 11 damage on, like, turn 2 or 3. Like, that's generally what you want to be doing in that deck. So the idea of, you know, spending a card slot in the deck on a planeswalker at all doesn't really work in most builds. I know there are some where you can get away with it, but for the most part, Nahiri has been a character whose planeswalker cards don't really have much of a home outside of Commander. You know, in Commander, obviously, if you're doing equipment stuff, you want to be able to get recurring value with equipments because it's very easy to just run out of gas when you're trying to play the aggro deck in a 4-player pod where everybody starts at 40 life. It's not easy to do. So I get that. And in which case, planeswalkers that provide recurrent value is good. I say all that to set the stage for what Nahiri generally is from a gameplay perspective, because I believe Nahiri the Unforgiving, the Phyrexian version of Nahiri that we see in, you know, LB1, completely flips the script. I have seen people dismiss this card as another boros equipment planeswalker, and I could not disagree with that assessment more. So let's get into it. What does the card do? So it is a 5 starting loyalty legendary planeswalker Nahiri for 1 red, white, and then a Phyrexian white or red with completed, like so many other planeswalkers. So it's either a 3 starting loyalty 3-drop or a 5 starting loyalty 4-drop. With +1, until your next turn, up to 1 target creature attacks a player each combat if able. Another +1, discard a card, then draw a card. And then a 0, exile target creature or equipment card with mana value less than Nahiri's loyalty from your graveyard. Create a token that's a copy of it. That token gains haste, exile it at the beginning of the next end step. So it does say equipment on it, but I don't think equipment is how you want to use this. So that 0 ability is hella strong, if I'm honest. It just is. Being able to freely reanimate creatures in your yard that gain haste and swing for a turn is a very powerful ability. There are a lot of highly expensive low drop creatures that can do some really cool things if allowed to come out and swing quickly, right? I mean, we see cards like, you know, Shakedown Heavy as a 6/4 for 3, you know, as one example, which granted has an attack trigger that your opponent might take advantage of, but that's okay. Like, it's an overstated 3-drop, great. Like, that fits what we're looking for. And even in white and red, we have very aggressive creatures that can come out swinging pretty quickly. I mean, being able to using this even after being completed. So Nahiri dropping even as a 3 loyalty planeswalker can grab an extraction specialist, which can pull another 2-drop out of the graveyard. It can also grab an Adeline, who can just really go face really freaking hard right off the bat, which is pretty cool. The other reason that this is relevant, or the other reason that ability is so powerful, is you can grab creatures with living, or you can grab equipment rather, with living weapon, or equipment that is for Mirrodin, which creates a rebel creature token on the battlefield, which is pretty cool. And in that case, if you grab a Mirrodin card, like the Dragonwing Glider, I think is one of them, which is a 5-drop otherwise, which this can bring back, you get a 2/2 rebel. It then gets the 2/2 flying haste, you swing with it. The equipment exiles, you still have your rebel. It didn't go anywhere. So that's just chilling. Same is true with the germ tokens from Living Weapon. Although I believe the germ tokens are 0/0, so they die anyway. But, so this can grab up a Batter Skull. This can grab up a Cauldron Complete. They can get a single shot in, you know, and just do good work, which is sweet. Like, I think that 0 ability is the key to unlocking this card. And the kind of things you can do with it are very unique. I mean, this creates a situation where Boros Reanimator can really shine and thrive in a super cool way. You know, the other one that I immediately thought of actually is going Naya with this, because then all of a sudden you could be rocking like Uvenwald Oddities, which are just, you know, 4/4 for 4 with trample. Granted, it has haste naturally, so getting haste off this isn't as useful. But you could also take advantage of ETB effects, like, you know, we've got Titan of Industry, which granted you'd have to uptick Nahiri to a 7 loyalty, but that's only 2 turns away. It's not that hard. And then on top of that, you also have cards like Workshop Warchief, which is also just great. Now, in order to take advantage of Workshop Warchief, you would also want to have some kind of sack outlet online. And notably, in red, we do have access to fling effects, which is pretty cool. So there are those options. I don't know. I think this card is really powerful. And the +1s are also... I've been gushing about that 0 ability because that's really where the rubber meets the road. If you can take advantage of that, the card is worth it. So using this, even in like a Boros aggro deck where with a lot of low-cost creatures, and then using this as a top end as a way of just continuously grabbing threats out of the yard and just pummeling your opponent with additional damage from creatures that they killed previously, it could be really good. Like, that's a line that could absolutely work. But the reason that so I mentioned the +1s just being just good in general, just being strong, because that +1, it looks bad. Straight up, like, until your next turn, up to 1 target creature attacks a player reach combat if able. So you like quasi goad something. However, it's not a perfect goad situation because it forces the creature to attack a player. So if your opponent has an attacker online that can clearly take out Nahiri the next turn, you can +1 and target it. And now it has to attack. So if you have a blocker that can kill it, great. But even if you don't, it has to attack you, not Nahiri. So Nahiri survives, giving you another turn and 1 more loyalty to possibly take advantage of that 0 ability, which is pretty rad. So that's a cool mode. And then the +1, just discard a card and draw a card. That is already worth the price of admission in a lot of situations. I have plenty of decks that want to put specific cards in my graveyard, and if I have them stranded in my hand, I'm very sad. So having that mode on this planeswalker, who also just wants you to have stuff in your yard, like, she feeds herself. It's pretty awesome. I think this card is quietly a game changer. I think this card is genuinely fantastic, and I think a lot of people are sleeping on her. Yeah, we're gonna see. I don't know if she's gonna make big waves in Standard right now, but if we have aggressive decks in these colors, I think she's got a shot. Also, like I said, the 4 Mirrodin cards are interesting. Being able to, like, actually the other one that I would love to combo with this, one of the things I would love with it is Zeatora. The colors would get a little funky because we'd have to go full 4 colors to make it work, because Nahiri does require that we have red and white, and Zeatora is full Jund, so we would need all 4 colors available, but that's not the end of the world. And with the fast lands coming in, and we still have a number of the Triomes from New Capenna, so I think we'll be fine in that regard. I think we could do 4 colors. Yeah, I think we could pull off 4 colors in Standard right now, and being able to pull effectively reanimate large creatures out of our graveyard, swing with them, and then immediately sack them to Zeatora's ability on end step, fling them at our opponent's face, make a bunch of treasures. I mean, yeah, we're talking about a situation where we have a 6-drop on the field, but that engine seems incredibly powerful, and like, the only problem with it is that it's going to end the game before you get to have as much fun as you want, which is a good problem to have, I would say. So I don't know how magical Christmas landy it is to actually put a deck together that can take advantage of that synergy, but it seems it seems like the top end potential is there. The other thing about Nahiri that's fantastic is it's a planeswalker that can be as cheap as a 3-drop. That's a big deal. When it comes down to playable cards right now, there are a ton of cards that we see every day where you read them and go, holy crap, the top end potential on this card is fantastic. And then you look at the mana cost and realize, oh, but it's not playable. Like, we have a ton of cards right now that are like 5 and 6 drops. Like, Defiler of Vigor in Standard, as of this recording, prior to Phyrexia all will be one dropping, is a great example of this. It is a 6/6 Trampler 4/5 with massive upside that makes all your green permanent spells cost one, it turns one of the green pips into Phyrexia mana, so it makes all your green spells cheaper. And every time you cast a green permanent spell, your entire team gets a +1/+1 counter. Like, that is incredibly powerful. But it's a 5-drop creature that needs to survive in order to have any value. And as a result, it is stone unplayable in Standard. It's just not enough. And it's too slow. Nahiri does not suffer from that problem. And you can take advantage of having other cheap creatures in your deck using Nahiri. So I think this card is just quietly kind of the best. I'm a big fan. I think this card is awesome, and I'm really eager to get my hands on her to see what we can do, because yeah, you're gonna see it. You're gonna see this card just wreck shop, I think, in a number of different formats, because it's so cheap and because it's so efficient. I believe Nahiri is going to be playable in older formats in a way that a lot of the other planeswalkers we see here aren't. Like the new Nissa is awesome. We talked about the new Nissa in a previous episode. She's great, but she's expensive. Like, the cheapest version of Nissa is a 5-drop that also domes you for 4 when you play her. Like, that hurts. You got to mean it if you're going to be playing that card. And I think in Standard, like, maybe. But in most formats, unless you are going full ramp your face off elf ball, Nissa just is unplayable. Whereas Nahiri, I think, could fit into some Explorer decks, could fit into some Historic decks, maybe even fitting into like Pioneer and Modern. I could see it. I wouldn't be surprised. Like Modern Hammer Time, previous 4-drop versions of Nahiri didn't quite fit. This one might. Like, as crazy as that is. And I'll be very interested to see if those formats pick this Planeswalker up. I'll be very interested to see. But I've got an eye on Nahiri the Unforgiving. I just quietly think this card's absolutely fantastic. So thank you so much for checking out the video. I appreciate it very, very much. Or the podcast if you're listening to this in audio form. I definitely appreciate it. And yeah, please like, subscribe, leave a review in your podcast app of choice. And yeah, I will catch you all on the next one. Take it easy.